All right, welcome to Sevedge Sessions, episode whatever we are. I don't know what it is off the top of the head, but today's theme is the ultimate guide to building a successful career with high income potential and high impact, because I've realized more than ever recently. Someone asked me the other day, like, why does somebody want to become a software engineer? I realized the perfect answer to it is they want a career where they can do cool shit, right? Like, that was the first thing that came to my mind. I was like, they want to do cool shit, right? Then secondarily, I was like, okay, what does that actually look like? And typically what it turns into is somebody wants a career where they feel like they're creating something that can be seen by millions, billions, or thousands of people. That's one of the coolest parts about software engineering. We're going to go into that, all the different aspects of it, and how to actually do that. There's going to be some Q&A. But first, Clint is with me today. That was the most awkward wave.
No, that's how I do it.
You are on a podcast, so you have to talk.
I honestly didn't know we were recording for some reason. It didn't click in my head that the camera was on.
That's completely reasonable. Well, so first things first, let's talk about some wild shit that's happened over the past couple of days. At SVB Bank, so for a lot of you that don't know, the reason why this is somewhat relevant to everybody listening, everybody has jobs, and I think thousands of people were going to wake up today either really happy or really upset. Luckily, everybody gets to be really happy. SVB Bank declared bankruptcy, not declared bankruptcy, but was shut down. Thousands of companies had all of their money locked up completely. They weren't able to pull anything out, and ungodly amount of people almost just lost their jobs. So what I think this episode really helps with is, man, if that bank wasn't bailed out, right? If the federal government didn't step in and say, hey guys, we're going to back you, right? Think about Devslopes. All of our money is in a bank account, right? If you have over $250,000 in the bank account, which we do, right? The moment you go over $250,000, it's not guaranteed. So if you have a business and you have $2 million in the bank, right? It's your savings, it's everything. And for some reason your bank just goes under, you only get $250,000 from the government. So they started doing bank runs where everybody went to the bank, started pulling all their fucking money out. And what would have happened is all those small businesses, payroll came out today, right? So people can get paid on the 15th. An ungodly, like we're talking about.
If you have $1 billion in the bank, they only
it would have been lost immediately. So this is what's interesting.
Keep your money in a box.
So one company went into, I guess there was a company that had $100 million in the bank at Silicon Valley Bank. They had $100 million in their checking account. One company went to them and said, hey, if you're concerned about this locking up everything, we will give you 60 cents on the dollars. We will give you $60 million for your bank account. And in the case that it goes under, we lose $60 million. But in the case that it is taken care of, we keep the $100 million. Right? Do you want to do that? That's how worried people were, because imagine all the people who had payroll already needing to go out. They had people that needed to get paid. Didn't happen. Everything was shut down completely. You couldn't even use your debit card. That's what happened with it.
What bank was this?
So it's Silicon Valley Bank.
I heard this. I don't remember who said it.
The reason why this is more important is that the banking system is kind of complicated. So Silicon Valley Bank probably had tons of other banks that were affiliated with it. So for example, when you see your local banks, a bunch of your local banks actually tie into massive banks, right? So the local banks you might see around here are actually connected to JP Morgan Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or one of those other ones.
Wells Fargo. Can we say stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. So if one bank goes down, it affects probably thousands of others, which will then end up getting shut down. So the reason why this matters is if you want to build a career that has a high income, high impact potential, you need to also understand the benefits of that. You have job mobility when you're great at that, because it's not just about skills, it's about who you are as a person, your ability to control yourself, all these really cool aspects. Like even for Clint, we talked about this morning why I hired you. It was like, you're a fun person to be around. Right, like you have all those other intangibles. Like it's like, yeah, I'll make a character hire off of this person. Didn't you say your old company just offered you, or the old job you had?
Yeah,
offered you.
Let's not say who it is.
Let's say old job offered you a job back just because they liked you.
Yeah, there was no other reasoning, because I was not a good employee. I know I wasn't, for sure. I was just there for too long. Yeah,
I love that.
It's true.
Okay, so Silicon Valley Bank goes down. That was interesting. Then additionally, some fun personal updates for myself. Weight is down to 207, which is awesome. I don't know if I talked about that last one on a forward progress. I have no other fun personal
What were you
updates.
before?
Dude, I went from 213 to 207. So it's now been about 5 weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that. I'm still 100% insecure on camera, trying not to show the gut.
What
that
do you
much.
weigh? What's your goal weight?
I'm trying to go down to around 195, potentially 185. I want to be. So the idea here is, in one area of my life, I've been able to get much more comfortable. Right, I've been able to solve like the income aspect of my life to a decent extent, and I think it's important to continually seek discomfort. So I think the discomfort for myself is moving over to the fitness and nutrition aspect. So number one, anytime I went to the gym, I hated doing over 5 reps because I hated that burn. I fucking hated it. I was not comfortable with it. I was a little bitch, to be frank, right? It even played out in jiu-jitsu. When I would go do jiu-jitsu, it was common for me to get in positions where I felt like if I just wasn't going to go anywhere, I would just tap. I'd be like, dude, I would tap from pressure. I would be honestly really weak. Nutrition-wise, my entire life I always stress ate. And then on top of that, I would always just eat what I wanted. Like I just had no control. I was gluttonous to a pretty strong extent. We don't hear that word a ton, but like I would just keep eating, and I was
I'm gluttonous for sure.
Dude, and I was
100%.
I was just getting fat, right? And so I think that there's something really powerful about the ability to control what you're eating, right? And just to be mindful of everything that you're doing. Sorry, whatever, guys. So being able to control that, like that's the stage I'm coming into now, because you have to get comfortable being hungry. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Right, like all of those aspects. So from 213 to 207 in about 5-6 weeks, that's awesome. Like it's a little over a pound a week, so it's going pretty fast.
How long are you thinking it's gonna take to get down to 195?
I think it could take upwards of about 6 months. So I could be wrong with that. There's more to. I'm not going to continually lose about a pound a week because
you do cardio. That's
yes
what
and
I
no.
don't do.
So I realistically go to the gym 2 to 3 times a week.
Yeah.
Closer to 2 times for the actual gym. Jiu-jitsu, like even Brent's here today. That's for my pickup. Brent, can you go down there? There's a bag in my room. We'll just cut this out. There's a white bag in my room, like a big bag that says dependable cleaners. Can you grab that and just take them downstairs? So yeah, I do cardio. But the cardio is more than anything else is just jiu-jitsu. Like, it's that's realistically it. It's a big cloth bag, Brent.
Cardio is what made me lose a bunch of weight, but I don't.
Do you want to know why?
As much as I should.
So the reason why is you just burn more calories than you traditionally burn.
Yeah.
That's it. It's pretty simple. So whenever you're in the process of losing weight, and actually I think that's what made this entire process so beautiful for me. How you lose weight is the exact same process of what you follow to gain skills. It's slow, right? So for example, for me to lose 1 pound a week, I think you have to burn around like 1,400 calories or something like that. You have to be in a net loss of around 1,400 calories.
What's
to
your
lose,
daily intake?
2,000 calories.
Okay.
About 2,060 something. So I measure the carbs,
I think
protein,
that's what
and
I
fat.
take into.
Yeah, probably because what do you weigh?
220.
220. You probably eat a little bit more than that. If you're staying at 220,
I
it's
mean,
pretty
I'm
close.
not measuring them. I'm just guessing.
Yeah, so it's a process.
It's probably like 4,000. I'm a fucking idiot.
So the process, for example, I think that's what I found so interesting, right? The process for losing weight, the process for gaining skills, the process for gaining muscle, all of this is closely connected. Essentially, all it is measuring where you are and tracking that day over day over day. That's all it is at the end of the day. It's pretty simple. Like that's every course you could ever buy. Like it's you follow something to a T. And what's really interesting is it's not special. Like Wes has been with me. Like I wake up in the morning, have a core power protein drink, or I'll have a protein bar. Then a little bit later, I'll have a core power protein drink or protein bar. Then I get Chipotle for lunch. I track exactly how many calories in that Chipotle bowl. Then at dinner, I usually just will have chicken, or I'll have like maybe pasta. And it's like I get all my protein from the protein shakes. That's typically it. And it just works.
How do you measure out how are you keeping track with how many calories you're eating?
MyFitnessPal.
How do you know what's in a Chipotle bowl?
So you go to Chipotle website and it'll show you. You can literally fill it in. Then I went to get all the BJ's information. So BJ's Brew House is where I get a lot of my food. So to get the information on BJ's, I had to go to like separate websites, and I had to figure out exactly what's in the bowl. So they have a garlic knot that comes with it. They have meatballs that come with it. I had to remove both of those because the additional calories and fat and from carbs, I had to remove those and look at just how much is in the pasta, and that's how I figured out. And you know what's funny? This tells you so much about the process for anybody to achieve a goal, right? So I could have easily hit that point and realized, I can't measure that. So whatever, I'll just eat this and I'll just measure it on later on.
That's one of like the biggest errors people have with like weight loss is wrongly like tracking their calories.
Yeah, and most people, they're like, I can't track it, so whatever, I'll just fix it tomorrow. I'll just do it different tomorrow. They put it off until later. So all I did was I was like, okay, I'm going to put in the time now to figure out what's in that, and I'll be good, right? And I did the exact same thing for Chipotle. So if I go to Chipotle, I get the exact same thing, and then now I know how much I have left for the rest of the day. I'm mindful about it. And it helps. It's proven. It's black and white. You're going to lose weight, gain weight, whatever it is, right? And it's interesting. I think it's the stories like this that set you up for success on actually being able to get a nice career, right? Building the career you want where you have the ability to earn nice money, right? And be able to have high impact and leave behind a legacy when it's all said and done for yourself. We talked about that this morning. What's the purpose of this podcast? At the end of the day, it's for somebody to be able to leave behind a cool legacy, right? Their kids will be able to look in the eyes and be like, Dad, I really appreciate what you sacrificed to do it. Mom, I really appreciate what you sacrificed because your sacrifice gave us the ability to have better lives, right? Like they could look at you and be like, man, he actually went out and did some really cool stuff, right? And it's funny. It doesn't matter if you're in your 20s or you could be like the dude who started KFC, who was in his like 70s or 60s whenever it happened. You can tighten this one.
It's pissing me off.
But it's fine right there. That'll hear you just fine. What it does is when you learn how to do something like this, when you learn how to track what you're eating, push yourself in the gym, it's one of the few things you can control. It was Andrew Tate, and there's a couple other guys that said this. If you feel like you have no control of your life, and if you feel like you have nowhere to go and you're absolutely stuck, I think one of the best things you could possibly do is go to the gym and watch what you eat. And just make sure that the area you're living in is clean. Once you start realizing that you could make direct transformations of who you are, right? And that you hold yourself accountable. You force yourself to follow through with it. You know that you don't want to go to the gym, but guess what? You go to the gym, you follow through with what you're wanting to do. Once you gain the skill of following through, I think that's when life changes. I didn't have that skill until when I was about 23. I would be able to get really cool opportunities, but I never followed through with them, and I was terrible on delivering to them because I never was held accountable in my life for the most part, except for sports. That was the only time that I really This is a common thing, right? So, for example, we're talking about jiu-jitsu today. Brent's going to come to jiu-jitsu with us. You're saying you don't want to do jiu-jitsu, right? I found that a lot of people may say that they're interested in coding or may say that they want to do jiu-jitsu or they want to go to a dance class or they want to do something. But they're so scared of doing bad at it, they don't do it. And a lot of people say they want to get a hobby or I want to get better at golf or something along those lines, but they never follow through with actually doing it. And it's, I was speaking to somebody the other day and they said, I want to find a hobby just like you with jiu-jitsu, right? But I'm too scared of jiu-jitsu. I don't think it's my thing. I don't think I want to do it. It just seems different. Well, you can't figure it out unless you do it and you force yourself to be accountable to it. You have to do it for 6 to 12 weeks. Everybody who's typically starting off with coding or marketing or sales or anything along those lines, they have no follow-through. They're not going to hold themselves accountable to do something. And it's really hard for me to be sympathetic because unless you're going to dive into something and dedicate everything to it, you're never going to fucking get anywhere. Right? I feel like this is probably one of the biggest problems people have because the line from the haves from the have-nots is literally determined by the ability for you to follow through.
But it's also because I have this problem. You're not seeing results.
Yeah,
the first time.
But that's the point, though. You
just got to know it will be there.
You have to be the path to mastery, the path to just fulfillment in general or happiness is built with suffering and pain, right? But that's the entire point, right? Do you want to just have idle hands where you do nothing? That's the devil's playground.
Oh, I read something I want to say on here.
If you have the ability to put yourself through uncomfortable things, that's when you really start to have fulfillment, right? I was listening this morning, Robert Greene, I'm listening to a book right now from him called The Laws of Human Nature, and he specifically said the way that you find fulfillment and purpose in life is through finding mastery, finding something that you could dedicate your life to, right? What was something that you're naturally curious at, and how can you dive into that? If you cannot find that thing, or even worse, you know what that thing is, but you're too fucking lazy to actually dedicate the time into it, you're not going to get anywhere. You have to be willing to suffer through it. Brent, tonight, when it comes to jiu-jitsu, it's going to be really fucking awkward. It's going to be weird. You're in this environment where, like, am I trying to fight people? Am I not trying to fight people? What am I supposed to be doing here? Or whether you're starting a coding course and you're like, oh, I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Help me, please. No. Figure it out.
Are you going to actually do it?
Yeah. Clint, you're going to come too. I want you to, I want you to come tonight.
I'll come. I'm not going to do it.
I want you to do it.
I'm not going to do it.
Why?
Because I don't want to.
But you don't know if you don't want to. How do you know you don't want to?
I know what I want to do.
How do you know that? You just said earlier you have issues with following through stuff, or just practicing something you don't want to. Not follow through.
Say that.
Practicing something you don't want to, or you're not sure about.
I didn't say that.
Failing initially. You said you don't want to fail at something.
But I don't have an interest of doing jiu-jitsu.
How do you know?
Because I know what I have an interest in.
How many times have people said that they're not interested in something, they try it, and they're like, oh my God, I actually like this. Just like with food.
Have you even tried it before?
No.
What makes you think you won't enjoy it?
Thinking of it. I know what I want to do tonight. I'm going to go to the gym. Not jiu-jitsu. I'm going to go.
You should come to jiu-jitsu. Give it a try.
I
Does West look like the type of guy who would love jiu-jitsu?
He does it.
But does he look like the type of guy?
I don't know what that looks like.
Did you think you would want to jiu-jitsu? Actually, you didn't want to when you first started, didn't you?
Look, I'm the oldest person in this room. I know what I want to do. I don't want to do jiu-jitsu. I can barely say the word.
No, I think I always had
I have nothing against
it. But I started when I was younger, and I went to just some small top team gym in North Carolina, and I remember just some big yoked dude cranking on my shoulder, and I was like, all right, enough of this.
Y'all went snowboarding. Seems maybe like it'd be fun. I don't have an interest in learning how to do that.
Why?
And I know that.
Why?
Because I know I was forced to go surfing one time. Didn't want to go, and I knew I didn't want to go. And they're like, "I'll buy you the rental." I was like, "Okay, fine." I hated it.
I didn't enjoy surfing either. I tried it once. I think
I went skydiving, and I knew I wanted to do that, and it was scary, and I enjoyed it, and I would go back.
I think that someone's openness to experience might have a very close indicator of their ability to find happiness in
How do you
life.
know you don't? I don't want to bring this out, and this can be edited out. How do you know you don't want to kiss a guy?
Because
throw that in that category.
That's
what I'm saying.
That's a tough one. West, come here, baby.
That's what I'm saying. You just know you don't want to try things.
Okay, so let me drive this a little bit further. Most people do not try hobbies because they are scared of looking stupid.
I don't care about that.
No, almost. You just said you did though earlier. I don't want to fail. I don't want what if I'm bad at it? What if I'm bad at it?
Nathan, we didn't have that conversation.
No. You just said it do you remember that?
If it should be on the podcast. If it is,
I did not say that.
You 100% said that.
Brent, did I say that?
He is over there not listening.
Stop trying to make him say what you want to say. I didn't say that.
Okay, but so everybody, a lot of people I've spoken to have been terrified. I feel like this is the general public, especially for people who there's a lot of people I've met who are like, yeah, jiu-jitsu seems interesting. Or another hobby seems oh, I would love to go do dance classes, right? Or I'd love to learn the piano or something like that. But they never get around to doing it. Or they go to one lesson and they never do it again. And I think that is the exact same problem that everybody faces. There's a universal problem with people not having the ability to follow through. And I think that's probably the biggest barrier that prevents individuals from having success. For some reason, people can't do it. For example, why did you keep doing comedy? You said the first one, you killed it the first time? Is that right?
I don't want to say I killed anything, but no. I remember the first time I went up, I did terrible.
Why did you do it again?
It was fun.
You were humiliated in front of people.
Yeah. Oh, and continuously through the years, I was humiliated.
Why? Why did you keep going up?
Bombing. Because I thought I didn't know. I wanted to be a stand-up. The idea of it. Now I don't want to do it at all. But the idea of it was fascinating. The traveling, if you ever get to that
level.
Yeah, but it's just nice to make people laugh. that you read a joke. I would imagine it's what like musicians feel like when they write a song and they're hearing people say it back or sing it back. But it's just getting the laughs, kind of whoring yourself out that way. It's just, I don't know, it's fascinating.
I'm really interested in this actually. So obviously you're not Chris D'Elia, right? You didn't blow up and have a Netflix special. Mm-mm. But what was the impact of doing that though? How did it help you?
And what do you mean?
In life in general.
I don't know. I feel like it helped me, like, I mean, I still mumble when I speak, but taught me how to, like, be in front of people, how to handle, like, situations better. I feel like it makes you more of a non-judgmental person. It broadens your mind to how other people live, what offends people, what doesn't, how people get offended, how they don't get offended.
Yeah.
Things like that. I don't know what you can and can't say, how to read a room.
So do you think it was worth it? Like the 6 years of doing it, the outcome of that?
I mean, no matter what you do, I hate saying this dumb shit, but like no matter what you do, it's like people are like, would you do it again or what would you change? It's like that's what got me to where you're at.
So that's actually the point I want to lean into. I think that one of the things that was so cool about you, and the reason why, for example, I wanted to hire you, for somebody to have something that they held on to for 6 years plus,
yeah,
that they dedicated themselves to for a long portion of time, I think that's the secret, right? Whether it's jiu-jitsu or not, right? It could just be going to the gym, like just taking care of yourself. The level of discipline and accountability it requires for somebody to do something like that for a prolonged period of time, I think is what makes employers think that this person is someone that's reliable. Like this is somebody I could actually trust. For example, with West, like took care of your Instagram profile. You take like you're mindful of it, right? You went out of your way to somehow get these impossible usernames that I don't know what you had to do to get, and we're not going to say it on camera.
What is it?
He has Colin on Twitter. He has Kolin.
Who is Colin? I wanted to ask that.
That's my first name. Like, you have no idea how hard it is to get into name gang.
We're not going to get into details here.
What's your first name's Colin?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Neither.
Why do we call you West?
I didn't know any of this until I had to buy him a flight. Until I was like, dude, why the fuck is Colin coming up? Isn't your name West? And he's like, this is my middle name, man. Is it your middle name?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, that makes sense. So, point being,
I didn't know that.
If you're a human, right, and you want to become the have, right, you want to be on the winning side of life, you have to learn how to suffer. You have to learn to dedicate yourself to prolonged periods of things. It's really interesting, right? So a lot of students that will come to Devslopes, they think this shit's going to happen in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. Mm-hmm. Imagine if I came to you and said, I want to be a successful stand-up comic in 4 months. What would you say?
I mean, that's
get fucked.
Clearly, what's his name? What's a football player?
Which football player?
Who just got a divorce?
Tom Brady.
He's trying to do stand-up now.
No way.
Look it up. He wants to do comedy now.
I'm all for it.
He thinks he's just gonna and then there's a rapper, T.I. does it now.
T.I. is doing stand
And then
up.
the porn star did it. The one that no, but I hate that I know who that is. No, the one that Trump had sex with.
Stormy Daniels.
That one. But it's not. I mean, this is something, and I know I go, like I always say, I'm not the best at it, but so many people teach comedy classes who aren't funny. So there's like people just think they can do it, and it's not. I wasn't even good at it, and I tried. So many people think they can just be funny, and it's not something you can just do.
But it's the same thing as software engineering, right? Like people think, or marketing or coding. So people think that they could start something and just become a master at it in 4 or 6 months. And it's like, no, this will take 16 to 24 months for you to become survivable. Like there's a rule in jiu-jitsu. They say that during a white belt, your entire purpose as a white belt is to learn how to survive. Like you're not going to be good. We just want you to be able to survive. Like if you got in a fight, you just know how to defend yourself. You're not going to beat this person up. You're just going to learn how to survive and take like a beating. Mm-hmm. That's it. And I feel like, but that's where everything starts. Like at the blue belt level of every skill. Like that's when you put in 250 dedicated hours Like that 250 hour rule seems to be the rule of law for when somebody's actually good. Like, do you think you put in probably 250 hours of on stage
I mean, over like almost 6 years, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So I mean that makes sense because you only do 3-minute gigs, right?
I mean,
Will you stand up?
on stage, I was on stage a lot in 6 years. I mean, I don't know how many.
But
I never did an hour.
In the first 2 hours of doing it, or 2 years of doing it, probably over 250 hours of like dedicated time thinking about it.
Writing.
I mean, I
jokes.
still think about it, but there's people who are 20 years in who have 20 minutes, 10 years in. Who
That's
have 20
insane,
minutes.
right?
Yeah, it takes a long time to. Because you can say so many words. Louis C.K. has it. Somebody put a thing together for him. He says like 800 words in 2 minutes.
On a side note, did you listen to Chris Rock's new one?
Yeah,
Did you like it?
I'm sorry.
I was kind of torn on it. I wasn't. I thought it was funny, but
I don't think any. I mean, like I always say, Bill Burr's funny, but
did he have work done?
Oh.
Chris Rock on his face.
I think he's.
Did you notice how like weird his cheeks like pushed out?
There's no way his teeth are real. His
veneers.
teeth are-
I'll get veneers in a heartbeat.
He's 60 years old.
I would get veneers in a heartbeat.
Yeah, I would now.
Yeah, I have no issue with that. All right, let's move over to Q&A.
Okay.
West.
All right. So our first question are: what are the key traits and skills that successful people have in common?
So number one, pain threshold, right? You have to be able to suffer for a prolonged period of time. Number two, conscientiousness, which is essentially the ability to create a to-do list and accomplish that to-do list, right? If you want to be successful, you have to be able to write a list of things down and just do them. So anybody watching this has at one point said, I want to be able to have XYZ. They created a list. They never did it, right? So for myself, I said I wanted to get in better shape. So I wrote a list down, contact somebody, and just do what they said. That's all I did.
You have a trainer?
Huh? Mm-hmm. Physique coach. And he's the one that's been helping me. Like, so he sets my macros, all of those things. That's all you have to do. Like set a list, go through it. Now, it's important that who you get your list from, right? What helps is finding the right mentor. But at the end of the day, what's going to determine your ability to have success is breaking that 250 hours as soon as possible. You want to hit that goal as fast as possible. So whatever route you want to go down to build a successful career, you need to set those 250 hours and create a plan to accomplish that and go through it as fast as possible. So it's finding a program like Devslopes, or
That's it.
finding
Devslopes.
a comedian to study under and figure out what they're going to do. Whatever it is, create a plan to complete that 250 hours. It could be buying books. It could do whatever it is, right? So number one, being able to suffer. Number two, setting a plan, being very conscientious, being able to be very disciplined. Number three, educating yourself. So again, best thing you could do, go find the top 20 books in whatever category you're interested in on Amazon. Buy all 20 of them, read them, get the audiobook, do whatever you need to consume them. And finally, set big goals for yourself, right? I think that one of the things I've had as a specialty for myself is finding people and helping them set goals that they don't have to feel like are corny. Like a lot of people are scared to set big goals for themselves because they don't feel like they're worthy of it. The environments they've been in, they've always been made fun of for setting those goals. Like, who do you think you are, Clint? You think you're going to become some big guy? You think you're going to become a comedian? Get the fuck out of here. Who do you think you are? Right? Like, not allowing that environment to affect you. Set the goal. In some circumstances, keep it to yourself. That's what Sarah Blakely... So Sarah Blakely is probably one of the most respected entrepreneurs I know. She's one of the first women to become a self-made millionaire or billionaire.
Who?
She created Spanx. She was the first person to create like
I
the
know who that
underwear
is.
that
I know who that
doesn't
is,
show
yeah.
imprints. And she didn't tell anybody about what she was doing.
I know this.
Like, she didn't tell anybody forever.
She took it to the store herself.
Yep. So she, it's so interesting. So she went into a boardroom and she was trying to sell them on Spanx. And it was a whole bunch of guys. And they're like, we just don't get why we should buy this underwear from you. Like, it seems like it's no different than anything else. She's like, honestly, I don't know how to describe this. She said she needed to go to the restroom, but she was like, okay, let's pretend you're a woman. She's like, I need you to come with me right now. And she was like, okay. So she went to the restroom. She had normal underwear on. Then she put Spanx on and walked out. And she's like, I get it. Now I
I
get
feel
it.
like I would get that if a woman explained it to me.
But it was new for its time,
I'm
right?
a woman.
Do you think that she didn't tell anybody about it because it was an
She
underwear
wanted
company?
no, she knew she wanted to protect it. So she's openly talked about this. She was like, I knew who was around me, right? And she was like, I didn't want to tell people and worry about the disbelief that they're going to have, because a lot of people may say, Clint, I know that you want to do this, but don't put all your time into it. You don't want to fail, right? Like they want to start, like they have good intentions, but they're telling you should probably not do that because I don't want you to fail. They just don't want you to fail.
She was young too, right?
Yeah, I think she was in her 20s to early 30s.
Ooh, good.
And she sold fax machines door to door while she was doing that. Like,
Wow.
massive respects. Like, that's one of the reasons why I love her so much. Like, she's awesome. All right, what do you got next for us?
How can you identify and pursue your passion in order to build a successful career?
When did you realize that you liked comedy?
Hold on. I'm trying to word this a certain way. I don't know. Just it's fun to make people laugh. I don't know.
When did you? Okay. Are we gonna go deep here?
It's the one thing I knew I could do, like get a laugh
when
out of
did you know?
somebody.
When?
Everyone says this, but
At
everyone's
a young age?
everyone's always told me I was funny. Everyone has that same story though.
So that's the first step, right?
It's just like I remember having like crushes on chicks who would laugh at things. I was like, oh, maybe
this is it. Maybe this is the
that's
play.
a thing, yeah.
That's the first step. So, Tiger Woods.
I mean, I'm not having sex because I'm attractive. That's,
You think it's the sense of humor?
Yeah.
Well, so that's the first step, though, right? So the process of being able to identify that passion, or at least what you could build a high income, high impact career out of, like where you feel like you could do really great stuff and you have massive impact, is first being able to identify what were you naturally good at. Tiger Woods at 2 years old was overwhelmed with excitement when he saw his dad hitting the balls. Like the entire biography about him, he talked about like how when he was 2 years old, he was freaking out. Like he was so excited seeing his dad hit golf balls. He just absolutely loved it. Everybody typically has some kind of inclination from a very, very young age that will push them in a specific way. You lucked out in some category, somehow, whatever it is. Maybe you had a voice, maybe you made people laugh. I have no idea what mine was. I think that I just enjoyed being around other people. Quite frankly, I have no idea how we got here. But I think that from a young age, the ability to read, or sorry, maybe not read, it's not read. The ability to, so I go back to school. When I was in high school, when I was a freshman, I got a journal out and I said I wanted to be an all-state football player. And then from there, that's why I started researching. Like, okay, do I need to watch film? Do I need to go get workout programs? My idea was to go get workout programs.
Oh, you wanted to play football?
I did play football my entire life.
I didn't know that.
My entire life.
I didn't know
I was pretty good at it. Like from like
You don't like sports.
I love sports.
You watch football.
Yeah. I'm just not a douche, so I don't.
I've
talk about it all
never
the time.
known you to watch a football game.
Yeah, because
I'm not saying he's lying. I just
No, I just don't talk about it all
honestly
the time.
didn't know.
I just don't talk about it all the time.
I hate sports.
Well, because do you know how long in Devslopes nobody cared about sports?
I still don't.
Almost the entire
Do
history.
you like
of it.
football?
It's all right.
He actually went with me to watch the games, like the Super Bowl and everything. So yeah. So freshman year, I write it down in my journal, and then I just followed through with it nonstop. I was like ruthlessly following all the workout programs. I would wake up at 5 a.m. to go work out at times when I had to, because I wouldn't be able to. I put working out above everything, right? I remember I had a snow cone. We had a snow cone stand, our parents did. And I remember at times, like, there would be a line of people at the snow cone stand at 5 o'clock, but my workout was at 5:30. And I would just go tell people, no more. Like, you guys are done. I need to be able to go work out. And I could have made so much money in high school if I just would have, like, taken.
Oh, y'all had a snow cone stand?
My parents bought a snow cone stand. How old were you?
Like 12.
Yeah, my parents brought a snow cone stand. That's how we made our money in high school during the summers. So yeah, but I was ruthlessly dedicated to that. I remember one vivid story that I think sums this up. I'm pulling out of my garage once. This is kind of graphic. And so we always had dogs that would run out in front of our cars, right? So we had this dog
I already know where
Princess.
this is going.
Yeah, it's sad. We had this dog Princess who was like the best dog in the world. She was just fantastic, and she was probably 12 years old. 17 when she died. So she, for some reason, ran out in front of my truck, when I was pulling out.
You run it over.
Yeah, I ran her over, and she had to be put down. It
Makes me want to laugh. I don't know why.
It was brutal. It was so brutal. I will never unsee the image of what I had to see. Vet came out, put her down, and I immediately left to go work out because I was already late. I'll never forget that. And it was I was like, I can digest this afterwards whenever I get back.
Did you leave the dog there?
No, my dad called the vet, had to come out. I couldn't do that.
The vet pronounced it dead?
Yeah, the vet had to put her down. She was alive.
They shoot her?
Jesus Christ.
No, he IV in the vein. It was humane. I know people that have done that. They're like, all right, let's shoot her. And it's like, dude, how do you do that? Do you just dome the dog, just straight to the head? Is that what people do?
I don't know. I hit a deer with my car.
I've done that.
And so they dragged him off the side of the road, and then when the police came, he just
in the
so
head?
alive?
How did Britt, have you known
just
people
put
to
him
do
down.
that?
They shoot him.
That kill dogs and they just shoot them in the head with a shotgun or something?
Shoot him, bury him, or
How else are
something.
you supposed to do it? 'Cause you don't want the dog to suffer.
Run it over.
Because you can't really shoot it back up. You don't shoot them in the head or the heart, do you? It's just.
That's what I'm saying. If you do, you could miss.
Oh my God, bro!
I worked for a vet in high school, and it was not humane how they put those dogs down. They
What?
didn't shoot them, but it was bad.
They strap them down and do an IV.
Yeah.
That's not what, I don't want to say what they did.
What did they do?
I don't think it was legal what they did. I don't want
Just
to.
choke 'em?
I feel like it would be too easy to trace back where I worked.
Did they choke them?
No, I don't want to say what.
They didn't give them. Did they chop their head off or something?
No, it was a mom and her pups. I worked at a vet, and they would get dogs in that were like strays, and the way they put them down was not humane.
You're gonna tell me this off camera.
I'll tell you
now.
off camera. Yeah, I'll tell all you.
That's
off camera.
insane. But we're talking about key traits that led to that success. It's things like that. Or is that what we were saying?
I didn't kill these dogs.
He's clarifying. He's like, I
It wasn't
did not
me who
do
did
this.
it. I was like 17.
Help me clarify. What was the question again?
How can you identify your passion?
Oh, the way you identify it is, again, find the areas that you're natural in, right? Are you a naturally curious person? So a great example of this is, were you a person that loved to take things apart and put them back together your entire life, right? Did you love to play team sports? Were you naturally the person that made people laugh? Were you naturally the person that brought people together? Did you have an inclination for leadership? Did you have an inclination for problem solving, right? Something I did from a very young age. I lucked out. I grew up in the age where online video games were real. I loved Googling and always figuring out what the new meta was, the new best way to do things. Always problem solving from that standpoint played a massive role in Devslopes getting here. The ability to self-educate was probably the reason why Devslopes ended up popping as much as it did, right? And then going into freelancing, I had to Google tons of ways to make that possible. I was naturally very empathetic from a young age, just from kind of the friends I was around, stuff like that. That helps a ton. That plays a really, really big impact. So I would say just look at what your natural inclinations were from childhood to now. Clint being humorous. What about you?
I think being open to experiences, because until you earlier we were talking about dance, until you try dancing, you could want to be a dance instructor and you don't even know.
Yep.
So I think it's every time that you have these curiosities, kind of go down that path and test it out. Because at one point I wanted to be a skydiving instructor. Halfway through my license, not for me.
Not for me.
Yeah.
And it's funny, right? You're naturally creative. You draw all the time. You used to draw during every single podcast. Y'all might be able to. Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah, he can.
Didn't know your name was Colin. Didn't know you could draw.
Well, that's.
I don't know your last name either.
There has to be something to the fact,
Dirks.
openness to experience, with the ability to follow through, and the ability just to be comfortable with failure. Right? Imagine saying, "I want to be a comic, but I don't want to be embarrassed." You have to sacrifice one of those two. Either you're never going to comic, or you're going to be.
Yeah.
And what's the benefit, right? Think about what was actually for yourself. What was the big benefit of being embarrassed so many times in front of people.
Oh, dude.
You just don't care. You don't.
I always thought I would. This is not a joke. I always thought I would die a virgin. When I was in high school, I thought I would never have sex.
That's so funny.
My older brother, he had a friend who told me that, who said, I'm going to be like Steve Carell on 40-Year-Old Virgin. And I took that to heart.
Did you really?
I swear to God. I didn't lose my virginity until I was 19. But stand-up also helped me realize it's fine if girls don't want to fuck you. Like, you're going to, like, it helped me be myself to where, like, God, you can't
Was it
talk
almost like
about
stoic
sex
in a
without
sense?
it. I mean, I guess. You can't talk about having sex without sounding like you're bragging. But, like, it makes you where you're, like, comfortable in your own skin, where you learn how to speak and
I think there's something to that. Like, I feel my most comfortable when I am doing jiu-jitsu. And I feel like there's something really powerful there to where, actually, that might be the start of it, right? Where do you feel most comfortable? And then put all of your fucking time into that. Like, I specifically do not want to go, like, everything jiu-jitsu related, I'm keeping it pure from the sense to where I don't want to make money off of it. Mostly because, like, I don't want to become resentful of it. But, like, when I look at Peter, whenever on Peter's episode when he was muted the entire time.
Sorry about that.
When we look to that episode,
That's funny.
I was so pissed, bro. It was such a good episode, too. He talked about how he would just, like, come home from work, read more books about coding, just practice it. Like, his interests, his curiosity aligned perfectly. And typically there's like things where areas align. So even when they don't, right? Let's say you love comedy, right? But you're just not going to become a comic. Like, for some reason you really don't have it. You could find areas where they align, right? Marketing and comedy align exceptionally well. That's what this scenario really did align for yourself, right? For a lot of people, software engineering aligns with every single hobby out there, right? You can go work for Flow Grappling. You can go do a million things that are related where those two interests align, between interest in your personal interest and your skills. You can find that gap, and then you're going to be really happy. You can have the impact you want, and typically you'll be able to have the career you want, like in terms of income as well.
Yeah, and you can kind of like connect the dots too, because like for me, I was like, I like traveling, I like concerts, and then like I realized, I was like, wait, I could be a travel photographer. I can shoot concerts. So not only is this something that I like doing, but I could go there and like kind of connect one of my other hobbies to that. And same thing with jiu-jitsu or whatever. I can now go into jiu-jitsu and film jiu-jitsu content.
For sure.
Like it starts to get to where you like have this
It's alignment.
overlapping. Yeah, alignment.
Yeah, there's alignment. That works out perfectly. Let's go to the next question.
Can I ask a question for Clint?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy the part of the stand-up, or do you enjoy the idea for a couple minutes at a time you can sell an emotional release to someone, and in that way is affirmation and confirmation to you emotionally and mentally that it's a way for you to love yourself because their laughs are affirmation in who you are and what you're trying to do?
Can they hear it? Can they hear him?
Yeah, so to paraphrase this,
I know
and I
what
want to
he
make
asked.
sure. Well, we need to paraphrase it though. They're not
Oh.
able to. So to paraphrase it for you, do you love the idea of being on stage, or do you love the idea of knowing that for 3 minutes or 5 minutes you could help somebody kind of forget about everything else and have an absolute? They get to kind of melt away a little bit. They get to be happy. They get to laugh. They get to step out of reality for a moment. They get to have a high.
I've heard other people say, like, it's nice that other people come out and they get to... I don't think anyone gives a fuck about that. Because you're not asking those people, hey, what do you want me to talk about? I mean, they're still forgetting. I guess there is a sense that those people in the audience are forgetting they have herpes or whatever the fuck it is. But it's still you that's receiving that. So I can't really say it's nice that... Though I guess it is, but I don't think anyone really thinks about that because you're the one that's feeling that, so you're really doing it for yourself.
Do you feel like validated when like people think you're funny?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean it's. Hold on, you're like if I get a laugh, does that make me feel like
Feel good.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so funny because like if I think about, it's kind of funny because I thought about this the other day, like for jiu-jitsu. I was like, if we were to play it out, like, do I love the act of jiu-jitsu or do I like the fact that I'm really good at it? Like would I love jiu-jitsu as much if I was on the receiving end of every roll? Fuck no, I would not enjoy it as much. But like, I would eventually get to where I am. Like, if I had to start over, I'd do it in a heartbeat, like immediately, without a problem. But the idea of exclusively living on the nail side of jiu-jitsu, I'm good. I do not. I'd rather eventually be the hammer. I don't want to be the nail my entire life. That'd be miserable.
Yeah. Well, it's also like the journey too. Like, I love that. Like, I progress, and like where you can see that progress into, like, I don't know, be the hammer a little bit, not be the nail all the time.
Oh, dude, that's what makes it so fulfilling, right? Like, I love the fact, like, I think some of my best memories in life, and I mean this very seriously, are the memories of people that I've trained with that have beat my ass, and then being able to 6 months later completely flip the switch and know that I have the better hand now. I think those are like, when I talk about like greatest accomplishments in my life, like jiu-jitsu's up there. Like extremely up there. I don't know if there's a lot of things in life that will ever make me feel the way jiu-jitsu has. There's probably next to nothing.
Kids. I might have to edit that out.
Maybe when they're a little bit older. I mean, like the kids, it's interesting. Kids have a different feeling. Like, it's like there's like the way that I approach kids is a sense of legacy. Right? Like I'm not like, so for example, the kids, whenever they come over, right, they'll frequently see stuff like, oh, I'm excited to go to mom's house. Like, the moment I pick the girls up on Friday, they're asking immediately, hey, when do we get to go to mom's? That doesn't upset me, right? Like, that doesn't really upset me whatsoever. Like, the kids love to be with their mom.
They probably say that to her when they pick.
Maybe, but like, even at that, like, I don't like a lot of parents force themselves on their kids, like, in terms of like, you're gonna do everything I love. They live their life through their kids. I just don't do that, right? Like, I'm really looking forward to like when my kids reach probably their teens. I know that everybody hates that. I view that as the part of like, you're finally start like the way that I'm viewing with the kids right now is trying to do everything I can just to make it to where they're comfortable speaking with people and making it to where they're not an absolute burden to be around for adults, because they can be accepted into the tribe, right? Like, people could feel like they're not going to be like, ugh, that fucking kid, man. Like, I do not want them around. Everybody's going to feel like that to a decent extent with kids, but the more tolerable they could be around for adults, the better off they are, because they could slowly start learning the game more and more. What I mean by that is, they slowly learn more and more what it's like to talk in a group. They slowly learn more and more what it's like.
How do you do that?
Ironically, I really don't know. The girls naturally, like, I think that what I'll frequently do is I'll kneel down and talk to them like, hey, that's not okay. That's not nice.
There's kids I can't stand to be around.
Well, almost all of them do. Almost all kids suck. So, like, Elena and Ava definitely have their times. But, like, I've sat, like, what I'll typically do. Elena is so Elena's 5, right? She's easier to work with because she can function stuff. So, for example, Ava, who's 3, she just got to a point where I will give her, when I say spankings, it's like something like that to tell her that's not okay. Like, I can't, like, she still isn't, like, my only way of reasoning with Ava is telling her something like, that's not nice. Like, that's the only thing, or good job, amazing, or that's not nice. That's the only way to do positive or negative. And, like, she's at a point to where I have to do, like, spankings or that's not nice more than I get to do positive, because she can't feel it the same way, right? Her positive is me holding her, showing her that she's safe, right? So, for example, I feel like I'm doing a good job because if she gets a spanking or she gets really upset, she feels comfortable with me holding her. She doesn't run away. So she knows that she has, like, safety in me. Elena, she's both ways, but she's finally at a point where I can kneel down and be like, hey, that's not okay. Do you know why? And she'll actually try to think, why is that not okay? Oh, because I can be annoying. right? She's learning what annoying is and that she can be
That's
annoying.
So funny.
These are things you have to teach, though.
Yeah.
And because, listen, everybody knows that homeschool kid.
Dude.
Everybody knows that kid. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't want my kids to be that way. I've explicitly told even my parents, I'm like, hey, do not assign anything to my kids. Like, I think this is probably something really important.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, so people, every now and then, for example, my mom might say, Ava's going to be, I'm just making up an example. Ava will be, the really loud one and pointing out, and
okay.
Ellie's going to be this one. I refuse. I'm like, I do not allow labeling in front of the kids. I'll be like, if you tell them anything, you tell them they're going to be amazing, they're going to be successful, they're going to be remarkable, right? Tell them they're strong, they're beautiful, and that they're smart. I make them do daily affirmations whenever they go to bed. I say, I say, are you smart? I am beautiful. And they smile. Then I say, I am strong. And they both flex. And I have them do that over and over again. I read them books about emotions, and then I'll bring up, hey, today you were really kind, weren't you? And she'll say yes. And the reason why I'm doing that, not only you're reinforcing the positive behaviors, but man, there's something to the point of the affirmations. It feels childish when we're older.
No,
but you have to be your number one fan.
I wonder how sometimes, when I was in the airport yesterday, everyone thinks these things, I assume. Some of the ugliest people, or people I don't think are too attractive, seem pretty confident in themselves. And I always wonder, how do you get that way?
Self-talk is everything.
It's got to be that.
Positive.
I mean, dude, ask Peter and Ethan. They've legitimately said this.
Y'all are ugly.
Peter and Ethan have literally told me, Nathan, I don't know where this confidence comes from. It does make it borderline is delusional, right?
You've seen these videos on TikTok or whatever it is, and it's always girls. Girls are saying they're an 8, and they're not. Which is fine.
You're a solid 3 woman.
Not everyone's a fucking 8 or whatever the fuck it is. But I always wonder, where do you get that from?
Some people are delusional, and then others validated by enough people to be yes, I am cute. I've had enough girls tell me I'm cute to realize that.
Yeah,
I think it's an aspect of just self-talk. I have for me, I think I'll speak from a man's perspective. When when you've been mindful about what you've had to go through to get where you are, right? And this is not necessarily about careers. It's about life in general. For you to become who you are.
Yeah.
That's where I think your confidence comes from. The household you came from, and maybe generational curses you've had to fight off, right? Habits or tendencies from parents that you had to actively work to not do, right? Grew up in West Texas, easily could have just stayed there, easily could have gone down the route of everybody else, right? My dad asked both me and Brent how many times to go work at the fucking state prison. I'm pretty sure up until last year.
Is that what he did?
Yeah, my dad worked at the state prison for
I knew
30 or 40 years. I'm pretty sure he would have up until last year asked me to go work at the state prison.
And he doesn't do that now, right?
No, he works for me now.
Yeah.
So that's I've been my own number one fan for so long. I've so deeply believed in myself. A lot of it was delusional at the beginning. It was pure delusion. But you have to be that way. You have to be delusional until you that fake it until you make it. There's a lot of truth to that. But you have to still be a realist at the same time.
Yeah.
You have to be able to. So Robert Greene, one of the things I love about him, he always preaches you have to seek truth at all costs. But at the same time,
Hold on, what does that mean?
You have to always be checking yourself in terms of the route you're going down. You have to always be. So, for example, in jiu-jitsu, when I started doing jiu-jitsu, I had these ideas of things that worked initially at the very beginning because I was decent in jiu-jitsu and I could force things to work. And I thought that this is the secret, right? And I could have continued that thinking, which would have crippled me when I got good and I started going against other good people. I learned something maybe at a white belt when I was first starting that worked really well, and it worked on people who weren't good. That same thing would not work when I was more advanced. The reason why I became so good at jiu-jitsu so fast was because I exclusively learned from the best. I very rarely will ever listen to people who are not good, right? Or people who are even black belts, because I'm like, why would I listen to you when you're saying you should do it this way when the best person in the world says you should do it in a different way? Give me one good reason on why I should listen to you. They typically can't. Like, they're like, because it's always been done this way. Yeah, because you've been the same person since you were a blue belt, right? You just got your black because you've been doing this forever. The difference is I've reinvented myself by seeking the truth, right? The best alternative every single day. So like just in jiu-jitsu for myself, I've reinvented myself every 3 to 6 months.
So you're just saying being open-minded to grow?
Not being open-minded to grow, seeking growth at all cost. It is the only option. Grow or die. Right? Every single day you are either growing or you are dying. And there is very rarely, even in nature, when we look at nature, there's no such thing as stagnation. You are either growing or dying. This is from evolution. You're either growing or dying. If you stagnate, your environment will outgrow you and you die. Right? So think about people who, this is a great example, people who were front-end developers, right, for forever, who chose never to learn React or Angular and wanted to purely use HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. The moment React came out, they're screwed. Right? Technology outpaced their actual skills. If they refused to learn those things, which there's no reason to, but if they refused to learn them, they were ruined. Right? There was no need for them. Somebody who has a fraction of their experience, who understands React, can get the job done in a fraction of the time. Right? So this concept, this is why I always preach, hey, I want you to listen to every episode of the podcast and give me something I need to work on. Because then I have I love it. I'm obsessed with it. This idea of constantly have something to work on. It's overwhelming. I do believe it's the right path to live life by, though, because it gives you something in your hands to actively work with. It's like you have this finished product. Most people will get happy and they'll get complacent and they'll stop working. If you want a career and a life that you get a high impact and high career, you have to always be working to improve in some capacity. The moment you stop, you're done.
How do you know, though, if it's just like when I watch them, and I watch them back, because mostly that's my opinion on what I think you should do. How do you
I trust the opinion.
Cipher that?
I trust the opinion.
Yeah, but what if it's somebody, like you say, some of the black belts you don't want to take information from? How do you know if it's like...
I measured against, right? So I have Pat.
Am I wording that right?
No, so how should I know to trust you? Who are you?
Yeah.
Right? No,
because I have to...
So
okay, hold on. This is my opinion. How do I word this?
You're completely different from me.
Yeah.
We're different people.
Yeah.
Right? One of the things that you help with a ton is you complement me exceptionally well in terms of you're the opposite personality of me, but you complement me in the sense to where I can get abnormally serious, right? And so you've done a great job of helping me bring my personality out more. You know what I mean? And also, the funny part is you've had to help me grow a lot because you are Mr. anti-cheesy in a sense. You're like, dude, he sat there and he's like, dude, why are you wearing jewelry? Is that even you? I have to be able to justify myself to that.
That's not what was said. But I know what you're talking
We're
about.
paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
By you being that devil on my shoulder, it helps me reinforce who I am. Right? So whether you're giving feedback I like or don't like, it helps me grow in that sense. Right? I'm not just going to take every single thing to heart, but the vast majority of the time, it's a banger. The advice is really practical.
I wish more people would understand that.
And even though I normally really only take advice from upper belts, there have been lower belts that have pointed out flaws in my game.
100%. Arthur, Arthur, the dude we're gonna all go train with tonight, he's a blue belt.
Not me.
I actually love training with Arthur. So he's I've been exclusively working on choking people from the back in jiu-jitsu for the past 3 to 6 months. And it's been the past 6 months. The first 4 months, I made no progress. Literally none. There's no progress made. And I'm trying to learn how to choke people. It didn't start clicking for the past 4 to 6 weeks. But now it's been substantially better. I could choke black belts. I could choke almost everybody now. but it took a really long time. Ironically, Arthur, this blue belt, who's maybe been training as long as me, but I'm substantially better than.
What's after a white belt?
White, blue, purple, brown, black. So I'll get my black in like 2 years probably.
Like the thing about Arthur that makes him so good is like I know when I'm training, he's telling me like, oh, this one's from Danaher. This is what
Yep,
this person does.
that's
And
what's
I'm
nice.
Like, all right, word, it's validated. Like,
Yeah. So like they're like the source that they're getting their information from is trustworthy, realistically. And that, I think that's a big factor for you. Like you spend a lot of your time listening to podcasts. You're listening like I think like for me, having somebody compliment me that comes from a humor standpoint is what matters more. Like if I had somebody like it's about complimentary stuff. I think that's the biggest aspect. Like finding people that compliment you exceptionally well. In fact, like you're going for a job, you want to compliment the company, right? Like that's why they make cultural hires versus a skilled hire. We do that all the time. Man, that's what all this is about. Like this is putting yourself in a position to where the group accepts you, and where you can find yourself growing at all costs. And I feel like that's the consistent thing we find in every single podcast I have. Being obsessed with chasing mastery and growth at all costs, regardless of the consequences, right? You're going to lose friendships. You might lose relationships. You'll lose a lot of stuff. But what you're going to find is, I believe at the end of the day, you know, when you look back after the pain of losing a friendship or a relationship, you will be happier, right? Would you rather have stagnated in that relationship or friendship, or would you rather have lost it so that you can gain more growth? There's a famous quote from like Ragnar Lothbrok in the Vikings, and he's taking his son to this village where he's going to see, like, he's going to get his armband, he's going to become a man, right?
What is the Vikings?
It's a TV show.
Oh, I thought that's what you're talking about, but I wasn't sure. I haven't seen it.
And he talked to his son, and he's talked about how for the first time he wanted to recommend that when they go raiding, they go in a different direction.
Rape and pillage. is
Yeah,
what they're
essentially, and steal. They wanted to go in a different direction what they traditionally go. And the son was like, why would you do that, right? And he was like, you know, he essentially said, I want to gain knowledge from it. And he said, Odin, their major god or whatever it is, said he had to give an eye to gain wisdom. And he said, I would give far more than my eye to gain wisdom. And he ended up losing one of his daughters. I think he lost
Spoiler.
his wife. He lost almost everything,
Is
right?
that the main character of the show?
Yeah.
So his wife dies?
No, his wife doesn't die, but they go in different directions. He loses his son for a long portion of years. He loses essentially everything,
Now I don't have to watch the show.
right? But he was able to transform everything. Like when you look at individuals who are, it depends on the level of what you want to do. So lots of people maybe had the charisma and the vision of Steve Jobs for different things. There's only going to be one Steve Jobs, right? Like not everybody's going to be able to do what he does. Not everybody's going to be Elon Musk,
Yeah.
right? Some people are just going to be great developers. Some people maybe are just going to be amateur comics that are going to have jobs on the side, right, to support themselves. That's okay, right? But your level of impact is typically going to be aligned with the level of sacrifice and pain that you have to suffer. And when you understand that, the reality of the world starts opening up real quickly. I had an employee once ask me that. An employee asked how they could have a lifestyle similar to mine.
You haven't put this in here.
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Edit that part out of me saying that then.
It's 100% not going to get edited out.
All
Nathan
right.
ain't going to catch that shit.
All right.
And I made a subtle joke, and I said, okay, step number 1, get married at 19, get divorced at 27, have several kids, and essentially lose the vast majority of everything you built in your young adulthood, right? And start over at 27. And stop seeing your kids a fraction of the time, not be able to wake up and see them every single day, not be able to say goodnight to them every single day, and essentially have to uproot your entire life and change everything, right? After you do that, then come to me and we can talk about next steps. Like, it's just a different category, right? Maybe things weren't meant to work, right? Things weren't meant to work in that first marriage, right? We were completely different people, grew apart. Part of that growing apart was a ruthless push to improve. I'm a completely different person in several aspects from what I was when I was 18, like for good and worse. But But that push is what allowed me to transcend a bunch of traditional barriers that most people would not be able to move past. And most people should not be moving past those. Most people, and that's what this podcast is for, is how do you build a career where you can earn $75,000 starting out with the ability to earn upwards of 150, 175? You don't have to sacrifice the world. You're going to have to sacrifice 2 to 5 years. But you could have a remarkable, unbelievable rest of your life if you do that. Right? 2 years, you get a job where you can easily make 60 to 90. We'll say 60 to 90. 2 years, easily 60 to 90. 5 years, you're in six figures easily. Easily. Not even without a doubt. Whether it's marketing, advertising, sales, or software engineering. Easily in six figures in 5 years. Not hard whatsoever. Right? But you're going to have to sacrifice. It's going to take an hour and a half, 2 hours a day. So you're looking at 10 to 15 hours a week for 2 to 5 years. Required. Nothing else to be said. But after that, you're going to have a fruitful life. You'll have a career that can typically adjust to the environment of whatever is taking place. You are going to be safe. That's what it requires to build safety. And if you're not willing to do that, enjoy being the individual who will always be angry at everybody else for having better lives. Enjoy being the individual who will always make fun of people saying, oh, I guess you need a nicer car to feel happy about yourself. I'm just happy with what I have. You spend that much on rent? That's ridiculous. Right? Enjoy being that person because that's all you're going to be if you never sacrifice. And that person is going to have a miserable fucking life. So it's either you sacrifice or you become that bitter human.
I've lost what we're talking about.
We've pretty much gone complete off topic. Didn't you just tell me earlier today how I need to be comfortable going off topic?
I thought that was good.
No, I'm not saying it wasn't good, but I don't remember what started this conversation.
The character's traits that lead to that, or finding whatever it is. All right, where are we at time-wise?
We're at an hour and 6 minutes.
All right, we're going to wrap it there. Any final thoughts?
No.
We'll probably record tomorrow. Thank you all again for listening so much. Don't forget to go to IG or YouTube. Drop comments on the videos for any questions you guys have. And we will see you guys on next episode.
Peace.
Yeah.
Peace.